The Oder River saw a mass death event in the summer of 2022 that affected fish, beavers, clams, crayfish, and other animals. Concerns about the river's water being poisoned were raised when over 100 tons of dead fish were taken from the Polish and an additional 35 tons from the German sections of the river. Although the exact cause is unknown, speculated theories include the effects of the summer heat coupled with lower water levels as a result of the European drought and decreased oxygen levels caused by heat and nutrient loading. Other factors being examined include increased oxygen levels linked to the addition of oxidizing agents and pollution by chemicals like mercury, acetylene, salts, or other sewage, as well as the potential of an algal bloom. There is also a much less talked about theory that may well be the culprit of what many have described as nothing short of an environmental disaster, which is the increased use and production of coke fuel from coal. Polish authorities took a long time to respond to the disaster, sparking a scandal that led to the firing of 2 officials responsible for water management and environmental protection. A reward of 1 million Polish zloty, about $210,000, was offered for information about possible culprits as the cause of the disaster is yet unknown. Second only to the Vistula in length and flow, the Oder River is one of the most important rivers in the Baltic Sea catchment area. It flows from its source through the Czech Republic for the first 70 miles, then through the border between Poland and Germany for another 116 miles passing through northern Szczecin, before eventually reaching the Baltic Sea. It is about 531 miles long, 461 miles of which lies in Poland. The total watershed basin is approximately 46,000 square miles, flowing through the Czech Republic, Poland, and Germany, of which about 90% is in Polish territory. As early as March 2022, fishermen in the Olawa area noticed fish die-offs. Then, around the end of July 2022, a significant number of dead animals began to float on the river. Volunteers, firefighters, and fishermen cleared a section about 120 miles of the river north of Olawa in southwest Poland on August 11, 2022. The removal of 100 tons of dead fish from the Oder River by Polish firefighters has increased worries about an environmental catastrophe whose origin has not yet been determined. The discovery of hundreds of dead fish and other animals floating in the Oder led German municipalities to ban bathing and fishing in the river. Conservationists have expressed fears that the mass die-off could wreak havoc on the entire Oder ecosystem because samples tested so far have not shown the presence of toxic substances. The Polish government looked into the possibility of natural causes, particularly a higher concentration of pollutants and salinity caused by low water levels and high temperatures. They are also considering a third hypothesis that industrial wastewater with a high chlorine content made its way into the river. The Polish government came under heavy criticism for failing to take swift action. German officials blamed Polish authorities for failing to warn them of the fatalities and were caught off guard when they saw the wave of dead fish lying in the water. In recent years, the Oder has been known to be a relatively clean river, home to 40 domestic fish species. So what actually happened at the Oder? It was thought that poisoning by an unidentified toxic chemical caused the die-off. Although the Polish government said that acetylene was absent from samples obtained after August 1, water samples collected on July 28 indicated a significant likelihood of its existence. While traces of mercury had been discovered in samples tested by a German laboratory, the Polish authorities declared that their studies had revealed no evidence of mercury poisoning as the cause of the die-off. They claimed that Prymnesium parvum, a species of golden algae found in warm salty alkaline conditions, was the most likely culprit. A researcher from the Leibniz Institute for Freshwater Ecology and Inland Fisheries offered an interim hypothesis that the cause was golden algae. In contrast, another German laboratory believed the fish deaths may have resulted from large amounts of salt in the water. While tests are being done for pesticides and almost 300 other compounds, no fish carcasses have yet been seen downstream in the Baltic German state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. It was also reported that oil booms will be installed around the Szczecin Lagoon feed to prevent the dead fish from entering the Baltic Sea. According to researchers at the Leibniz Institute of Freshwater Ecology and Inland Fisheries, the problems at the Oder may be more severe than previously thought. The fish in the river seems to be struggling due to lower oxygen levels brought on by historically low water levels and high temperatures of about 25 degrees Celsius. The situation has been further exacerbated by ongoing wastewater discharges into the Oder. Low water levels lead to a higher concentration of oxygen-consuming salt and organic material. This contradicts reports from the Polish water authorities that higher oxygen levels have been found in the river, linked to the concentration of mesitylene, yet there are no measurable high toxic levels to support this claim. This suggests a deeper and more ubiquitous problem than a single contamination event. Further investigations conducted on samples taken from the Oder at the Institute of Inland Fisheries in Olsztyn found rare microorganisms, the so-called golden algae, in water samples taken from the Oder River. The algal bloom could lead to the appearance of toxins that killed fish and clams but were not considered harmful to humans. Golden algae, Prymnesium parvum, is usually found in brackish waters where rivers meet the sea but are known to spread farther inland when there are high levels of salinity in the water. However, this species of algae requires raised saline levels that do not naturally occur on the affected stretch of the Oder River. Another theory, and one that is overlooked in the ongoing investigation of this disaster and may well be the primary cause for the pollution, is the increased use and production of coke fuel. The term coke refers to the product derived from low-ash and low-sulfur bituminous coal from a process known as coking. It is a gray, hard and porous coal-based fuel, rich in carbon content derived from heating oil or coal in the absence of air. An essential industrial product used in iron ore smelting and as a fuel in stoves and forges. Nauruta, one of the most polluted cities in the European Union, is the location of a coal mine. In the city of Wałbrzych, you will find more coal mines, a coke plant, and chemical and textile factories, which use chemical dyes and large amounts of water. Along the Polish-German border lies the Turów coal mine, feeding the nearby power station with lignite, often containing toxic heavy metals and sulfur. In 2022, Poland banned imports of Russian coal and started to increase domestic production rapidly. According to a cabinet spokesperson, the Polish government has adopted a draft legislation that will allow a ban on imports of Russian coal. Since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Poland has been calling on the EU to include Russian fossil fuels in sanctions imposed on Russia. However, the European Union opted for a gradual reduction in the dependence on Russian fuels. Poland is increasing this year's production of thermal coal, the most polluting fossil fuel, in anticipation of colder months as Europe grapples with an energy security crisis worsened by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia dominates Polish coal imports, accounting for 20% of domestic use. About 9.4 million tons of Russian coal were imported to Poland in 2020 and were mainly used to heat individual households. Poland also imports about 50% of its gas and over 60% of the oil it refines from Russia. Despite international commitments to phase out coal from the power generation sector, countries including Germany, Austria, Netherlands, and Poland are preparing to boost coal-fired energy sources as a contingency to the energy crisis in Europe. Poland relies on coal for around 70% of its electricity generation and recently introduced measures that will subsidize coal for households using coke fuel for heating purposes to mitigate surging prices. This is a necessity to be secured for the coming autumn and winter months. While the mystery of the Oder River die-offs remains unsolved, there is no doubt that Poland and indeed the rest of Europe will continue to produce and rely on power generation plants that release harmful substances into the ecosystem.